So, um, so let's go ahead and dive in here. And Toby Hooper, thank you for coming on the show tonight. And Toby, you have been—I've seen you everywhere here. And we talk about this that you are a father, you have a full-time job. How the heck are you finding time, and why do you want to run for city council?
Well, I certainly am juggling quite a few things right now. But I've been deeply involved in volunteering. I chaired a board with the city and presently on a commission, Ethics Review Commission. And so what I plan to do to budget my schedule would be to probably close those things down. And I think I could probably take care of my responsibilities as a council member without too much problem. But I do have a full-time job, and I think that is something that it needs to be represented on the board, because I have a full-time job which takes me off the island every day. I drive to Austin. I work for a large healthcare provider, the largest one in Central Texas, and I negotiate contracts.
And let me kind of quantify that a little bit. It's that you work for a private corporation. I mean, it's not saying that the folks that we have on the city council, or have varied jobs. And I think there was kind of some little bit of fur flying the last couple council meetings about that. But with working in the private sector and negotiating those contracts and working those deals, do you think that kind of gives you a little bit of an edge, and do you feel that you see some things out there? And then also, how does working in the healthcare industry kind of fit into this as well?
Basically what I do is I bring diverse groups together looking for value and an agreement of mutual benefit. Of course, I represent vice presidents and directors of my employer that are seeking to have a service. They need it to fit within their budgets. And then I work with vendors, outside companies, that are looking to make profit, retain market share. They have their concerns. And so in the end, what we do is everyone connected with the deal walks away with something they want. And I've been successful at doing it. I think bringing that to the council, to the city, would help in efficiency and especially dealing with our cost and enhancing our revenue streams.
Well, and that's the one thing when we were at council on Tuesday night that Lisa Spencer, who called in last show, was down before the council, and she was able to get her call went out, and the council was packed. A lot of people that were there asking for better value and for cuts. And what was kind of interesting out of that was that it kind of gave coverage for some of the council members to actually speak up that I hadn't seen speak up before, asking for those cuts. And looking at that, do you think that you can have an effect, as you've been watching those budget battles that we saw last week, do you think that you can have an effect on the city council or on the city with the budget process going into next year if you're on council?
One of the things I thought about, Rob, on Tuesday night was that the exchange that we heard, they were still very concerned about fundamental parts of the budget which really should have been discussed and sorted out long before Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And Ms. Spencer, I really admire her work, but she's going it alone.
Yeah.
And I would like to actually enhance what she's doing. In fact, I encouraged her to form a taxpayers watchdog group where it brings citizens together that have some skills at accounting and auditing to support her in what she's doing, and to actually work with the city in a budgeting process that goes year long. We shouldn't be 60, 90 days out from the vote on the budget waking up and discovering, hey, we've got some financial responsibility we need to tend to here.
Well, what's interesting is that she's working, I know she's been in discussions with Sam Brannon and with the Love Hayes group as well, and they also are working, they've realized that they've got into the budget process. They're actually sitting down and looking. I've sat through these meetings where they're looking at this in depth. And we started at the county level there, and I know that there's also a group that's now forming that's looking at the San Marcos CISD as well. And this is interesting because I see these groups that are talking to each other, working with each other, and kind of training and helping each other. I don't think that there's going to be a lot of effect this year, but I think you're right that, I'm seeing this shift that we're starting to be more open and inclusive of our citizens in the process, that I think by next year that could be a possibility.
If we had a well-organized citizens watchdog group over our fiscal concerns, what they should do is offer their own budget proposal. And I think it would be a great sign of efficient and functional government if when they offer their proposal of a budget, then the city manager and the finance director get together and they come together and examine these budgets, compare them.
And get the citizens' inputs and talk about, because there's a lot of things that there seems to be this gulf about, well, this is the way we see it and this is the way that the people see it. And, we saw that, we talked about, because a lot of times I think you see this in negotiation where there's a black and white, and sometimes you have to bring the people that see things in absolutes together a little bit so they can each see both sides of it and find that middle ground.
Well, and how many people in the community have actually read every page of the proposed budget?
Well, let's see, producer, how thick was that thing? That was like a New York telephone book, wasn't it? Yeah. So, because we were looking at that outside there the other night, and I know you've got a picture on the iPhone. We ought to post that. But yeah, it was. It was a New York telephone book. Yeah.
Yeah, it probably rivals the Affordable Care Act. I don't think
no. It was
many people have delved into that either, and it's very mysterious and ambiguous. And I think working together with groups like a taxpayer group that is, really focused on an end goal, not filled with emotion and that sort of thing, bring it down, having the adult conversation, and being analytical about it. Why hire consultants when there are a lot of people in the community with great skills?
Amen. I'm with that about let's keep away from the consultants if we can. Jeez, that's a lot of the budget.
And something I've seen in the city in the past years is a lot of just dysfunctional government, and that's one thing I want to bring to the council is bringing the sides together, because we really do have a lot of common purpose. Also, we've seen a lot of people elected locally that they had good intentions, but they really didn't have a lot of fiscal training, business acumen, that sort of thing, which we really need to have more on the council, because the core of the whole operation is that financial soundness. We can dream San Marcos all day long, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
But those things will be unsupported and be for naught if we don't have that core foundation of our finances in order.
And the Dream San Marcos, we talked about that a few weeks back. I like how we're talking about that, because it's good to get people's inputs. But you're right, if you don't come back down to, we've talked about that on the show before, is that this is a business. San Marcos City is a business. You have the general things that the city provides to you, your street lamps, your streets, your services, your police protection, your fire protection. You have a utility company that provides to you electricity, that they make a profit off of that goes back into the business. They have a sewer and water that you also get billed for. That's also another part of this, business entity. And people have to realize that's what we have a CEO, Jim Noose, that is responsible for managing this, and he reports to the board of directors, which meets every 2 weeks, which is called city council. It's that simple.
And I think we've got 1-2 members on council who are doing their best to be very analytical financially of the budget in the financial situation, but there are not enough to have a deeper conversation all throughout the year examining these things. I work in not-for-profit healthcare, but something I've said before in committees and discussing the financial situation is just because we're not-for-profit doesn't mean we have to behave that way. A city is not necessarily a for-profit entity, but it can be just as sharp on the spend, I call it, on cost, and just as forward-thinking on different sources of revenue streams and how to invest wisely where it enhances revenue, and so that we're not again and again talking about raising taxes, raising rates.
Well, and I'm gonna kind of shift gears just a little bit here. I want to make sure that everybody gets to your website, tobyforsammarcus.com. And Shane is going to make sure he's manning the Facebook for us tonight. I think we should have that up there for you. If you have any questions and you want to put those onto Facebook, please let us know tonight, and we'll get those on out. You can also call in 512-754-0084, and I'm sure that number is showing up on your screen here in just a second. But again, Toby for Sam Marcus, number 4.com.